Hey guys, welcome back. And kind of having to do this a little different than I wanted to. But I thought I'd show you the plans, and then we're going to discuss one of the major points for a contractor is to make sure the materials show up on time. So this is the downstairs of the house being built. See, we got a garage. We've got a swim spa here. Again, my wife's handicapped. Got a bathroom for the swim spa. This is going to be utility room. It didn't get drawn in on the plans. I didn't really care if the furnace and water heater were enclosed. She does, so we're going to add a utility room. This vault here was moved. The theory being that we still had to put a foundation under this deck, so why not use that as the vault? So that's what we have there. Then this is an open daylight basement. My wife wants to have a small antique shop. If you notice some handwritten measurements here, some of the doors or window sizes have been changed. Now, I want to emphasize here, this is something I can do here in Wyoming. There are no building inspections. There are no building codes. But some places, if you alter the plans, just adding a door requires inspection. I'll get this opened up here, and we'll show you the upstairs. So I want to discuss something else in our decision-making process. Again, wife's handicapped. We wanted the laundry room next to the master closet, or in the master closet. My wife wanted the bathroom facing to the east, which is our best view. She wanted to be able to lay in her tub and look out that way. We wanted a deck off the master bedroom facing the same way. And we wanted a large pantry. And then you'll see here, I don't know if you can read, it says lift room. This is where the wheelchair lift comes up into the upstairs. And then this is only a 2-bedroom with an office, even though it's quite large, just for visitors. It's just the two of us. The guest room has its own ensuite. This will be an office. My wife wants to add this wall here. This window will, of course, be moved. This shower has been eliminated. She decided it wasn't necessary since the guest bath had its own shower. So that's going away. And so those were some of the important things to us. The biggest one was this big mud room, and I can't get you a picture of it because it's covered up. But my wife had purchased, and it came out of the general store in Peck, Idaho, an uncut original 16-foot long seed counter. That's where they had the little windows in the front with whatever was in the drawers behind the windows, and they put it in, and you would say, hey, give me 20 of those, or give me a quarter pound of this. And this room is designed specifically for that 16-foot seed counter to go right in the middle of it. That's why this room is so large. My wife wants to put that together like an old-fashioned general store, and she has enough antiques to do it. So this is the basic plans of the house. I wanted to show everybody that at least one time. Okay, now that we've looked at the plans, and I've got you looking at some of the lumber here. These are the beams and headers in this pile here. I want to discuss the most important thing for any contractor, and that is coordinating the materials and the personnel. You have to make sure the materials are there if you're responsible for purchasing them, and you have to make sure that the correct contractors are there in order. So I'll probably do materials first, and then I'll probably do a separate video on the order of things. I'm sitting in my my wife's side by side here, shooting this. Just I love the, you know, the trees and the just the overall landscape here. So far I brought you up to speed on where we are. The power's in, the foundation's in, the barn is in. So now comes, we're getting ready to start framing this. So the materials become paramount, especially, this is March 20th of 2022 that I'm filming this. Or I should say shooting this. I guess we don't use film anymore. Gives you an idea how old a dinosaur I am. But it is imperative, because labor will kill you, you have to have the materials on the job site when they need them. Now, where I live in Wyoming, theft is generally not a big issue. You know, so I can stage these materials here. I live on site, I work on site. I still, if you've watched my earlier videos, I still work as a phone technician helping other technicians. So I'm here almost all the time. So and I have 4 dogs. So anybody who tries to come on the property without me knowing about it, that's going to be virtually impossible. And just in case you are thinking of coming here when I'm headed for Wisconsin here in a couple of weeks, we do have people staying here. And so just wanted to throw that out there. There will be people staying on the property to make sure nothing disappears. So anyway, in the era of COVID, it's very, very difficult to get materials in a timely manner. And last year, I mentioned in an earlier video, last year we had a problem in that our lumber pack had gone up in price so much that we could not build last year and stay within our budget. So we made the conscious decision to delay building until this year. Well, in December, for example, 7/16 OSB 4x8 sheets had dropped to $13 and something a sheet. So, and let's see, the 3/4 tongue and groove plywood, I believe, was 29 something a sheet. So prices were about as far down as they could go, and my wife and I started getting bids and quotes. And all of a sudden, in the course of one day, that plywood jumped from 13 something a sheet to 17 something a sheet. And the quote had not been done yet. But I did get a quote when the prices were just starting back up. And I went in and bought all my building materials. You know, my siding, my roofing, my windows, my exterior doors, beams, I-joists, trusses, everything that was coming from that lumber yard was ordered. Well, not quite, but I'll get to that in a minute. So that was all ordered back in and paid for back in December. Well, the lumber yard tried to renege on their quote, which printed on their own quote was good for 10 days. I wasn't having any of it, and they've had to honor that. And they've had to honor those prices. Well, that 1/2 inch, or that 7/16 OSB 4x8 sheets, last time I looked was now up to $47.70. So it's almost tripled, as has almost all the other lumber. So I would have been in the same position this year if I hadn't bought the stuff in December that I was last year. I have 100 acres here, so I can stage this stuff and people will never know it's here. And 40 of my acres are actually not connected to the other 61. So I actually have a place where I can hide a lot of this stuff out of sight. And there is a cover there, stuff that's going to be here for a while, like the siding, you know, or the trusses. They can be put in that location, and, you know, they're undercover and nobody can see them, but it's you know, it's less than a mile away, that I can use that property for staging. That property is my hunting property, actually, because there's no access to it other than by me. It's not accessible. It's a easement through a neighbor's property, and the neighbor's a pretty good guy, but he won't let anybody but me through there because I'm the one with the easement. So me and my family can get there, but nobody else can. So anyway, we got all this stuff ordered, and we were discussing with this lumberyard's wholesaler the I-joists and the main beams and the headers. And as I've told you in a previous video, the width on this house, front to back, is 40 feet. Or I guess I should say the depth. So I wanted to order 40-foot I-joists. And I was told by this gentleman that I was not allowed to order 40-foot I-joists because of the material shortages. I had a main beam bisecting the basement at 20 feet. I had to accept 20-foot I-joists. Now, if you're not familiar with construction, basically what that does is that puts your entire load on your main beam. There's no weight being spread out to your foundation from the center because the I-joists have been cut in the middle. They're spliced. I told him I wasn't willing to accept that, and at that point I was told I had to take what he offered. No, I don't. Not even in the era of COVID. So I went to a different lumberyard. Cost me a little bit more money, but I was able to get the materials I wanted. And when the manager of the first lumberyard called me the next day to thank me for that huge order, I said, well, you could have had the whole thing if your wholesaler hadn't said what he said. He was unaware of it. So if you're going to be your own contractor, you cannot be afraid to say, no, I'm not accepting this. This is not acceptable. We're not going to do it this way. You have to hold these guys accountable. And right now, because everybody's waiting so long to get anybody to do anything, you know, a lot of these guys don't think they have to do their jobs. So the materials either have been or will be delivered over the course of the next 2 weeks. The lumberyard wanted to wait till everything was in to start delivering because it's a 160-mile trip one way from the lumberyard to here. And I didn't blame them. I said, that's not a problem. Well, the new front door came in damaged. So I've told them they have to bring everything that's needed for framing. And they're going to bring all that over in the next 2 weeks. The trusses, we're waiting on those. They wanted to deliver those in the middle of a snowstorm 2 weeks ago. And we're going to get all that in here. So as the contractor, it's my responsibility when I have people coming in to frame this house up, I have to have everything here they need. So that's step one. You've got to get it here. You've got to get it here on time. I've also purchased all of my electrical wire and most of my electrical boxes. I have purchased my HVAC equipment. I've shown the duct work in an earlier video. You know, all that stuff has been done. My temporary is almost in. I've got a stripped out lug that I have to replace in the box, and I'm waiting on that to come in. And the electrical will be hooked up for the temporary, so they have a temporary to build the house. And so that, and then the other thing you have to do is some of the stuff you have to convince your significant other that you have to make some of these decisions early in the process. And I want to give an example. I believe I've mentioned in an earlier video, in fact, I'm sure I have, that we had a house fire in March of 2019. We had to rebuild that house. Well, one thing that my wife never realized is how many decisions you have to make ahead of time. For instance, your tubs and showers, if you're putting in one-piece tub and showers, those have to be put in while the house is being framed. Your faucets for enclosed tub and showers, pot filler faucets. That stuff all has to be put in during the rough-in procedure. You know, where are you going to set your furniture? You don't want to set outlets where you cannot get to it because you're going to put a particular piece of furniture right there. All of those things have to be decided before the drywall goes on, because it's a whole lot harder to move them after the fact. I believe in an earlier video it showed the 2 one-piece tub and showers, and then there's a soaker tub up there. The other shower will be a tiled-in shower, and we're also going to have a shower for washing our dog's feet off. It gets really muddy here in the spring and the fall, and we wanted a place to wash them. That will also be tiled. So those things can be done later, but you still have to select your faucets and install them before the drywall goes on. Once that drywall goes on, or the concrete board or whatever, you can't do that. You have to decide where your oven's going to go, where your kitchen sink's going to go, you know, where your refrigerator's going to go, a dishwasher. All of that requires special electrical. It all has to be put in ahead of the game. So those are all things you as the contractor have to think about. You know, you might have to look at the specifications on a particular appliance and say, where should I put this outlet? Can I reach this outlet? In my old house, before the fire, I had a Sub-Zero refrigerator, but the outlet had not been positioned properly for a Sub-Zero, so it could not be accessed. So those are some of the things you need to look at. But I wanted to really specify how important it was to get everything ordered, and you have to make these decisions ahead of time, especially now when materials may take 3, 4, 5, 6 months to show up. You have to have everything here so there are no delays. Now again, if you live in downtown Dayton, Ohio, and you're going to build a new house, and I grew up just north of Dayton, so I know from what I speak, you can't have this stuff sitting around because it will come up missing. It might make it there 1 or 2 nights, but as soon as they find out it's there, the thieves will come take it. So, you know, there are things that I'm saying that work for me that may not work for you. But if at all possible, you need to order your stuff, and you're planning on building, you need to get those materials ordered, because they're usually going to be cheaper in the wintertime than they are in the spring and summer. So I think I'm going to cut it off there. And when I come back, I'll shoot another video here before we head for Wisconsin, and we'll discuss the order of construction, who has to come in when, who can be in there at the same time, because again... Okay guys, welcome back. And I told you I would video the good, the bad, and the ugly, being your own contractor. So let's start with the ugly. The first delivery of my primary building materials order was delivered yesterday. And all of the nails that were supposed to come in, with the exception of some 16s and some 8s, were supposed to be nail gun nails. I have 8.
I let those 2 out.
That would be my wife Mary in the background. I have 8 cases of I'm drawing a blank on the name, the double-headed nails. Duplex nails. Thank you, dear. Duplex nails. I have 8 boxes of those for them to pick up. You walk out here, they were supposed to deliver nothing but lumber and hardware yesterday. You notice 3 big long boxes. Those are my garage doors. And then there's some 2x6 studs, 92 and 5/8. And there's 2 pallets more. Supposed to be 400. 389 is what showed up. And it took an hour this morning on the phone with the lumberyard to get that ironed out. More about that later. And I'm looking for building, you know, stuff to start the framing of the house. And what do I get but my roofing? You're looking at 70 square of architectural shingles. So, not all in all, not the best delivery. So there's more that's wrong, and that's up on the building site. So I'm going to shut down and go up there. We're going to check it in and figure out exactly what's wrong, and I'll bring you back. Okay, we're up here at the other pallet that you saw get unloaded yesterday, and my wife and I are going to check it in. You notice one box of nails is broken open, and there's a bunch of small stuff here. However, you'll notice box upon box upon box of 3-inch coil nails. And those are all supposed to be 3-inch number 8, or coil number 8s, or strip 21 degree 3-inch. These nails are also all wrong. So what happened this morning is, when I realized how much of this stuff was wrong, I got on the phone with the lumberyard this morning. And also, and I know it didn't show up real well in that video, my wife's not used to running this camera. They were supposed to bring lumber, hardware, plywood, in the order you're going to need the stuff. Windows, doors, and roofing were supposed to be last. Well, the person who was in charge of loading, who knew all this, was off yesterday when they loaded. And so the people at the lumberyard just loaded what of my order was easiest to get to. So today they got to unload it and get their tail chewed off by their manager, because I was a little upset. And I've been assured I will receive nothing but lumber the next load, probably the next 2 loads. So on that note, my wife and I are going to go through this stack of stuff. We're going to determine what's here that's supposed to be, what's not here that's supposed to be. And oh, the missing 11 2x6s that they insisted they shipped. They had actually listed 6 different kinds of lumber as being delivered yesterday, when I only received the 2x6 studs. So I'm not going to keep you around here while we wade through this mess. But I'll bring you back and do a little wrap up here once we get it ironed out and we figure out what's here that's supposed to be and what's not. So I'll be back in a little while. Okay, so we've checked in the pallet, and almost every nail was incorrect. The only thing that was correct, we had 2 boxes of number 16 vinyl coated, grab them, pound them by hand. We wanted those for tacking and things like that. That is all we received. The number 8s, which you see in the small black lidded boxes, were supposed to be coils. And the coils you see in the yellow and black DeWalt boxes were supposed to be strip nails. On top of that, we received... There were some all-thread rod we'd ordered for anchors. We ordered 12 and received 11. So I have been assured by the lumberyard that Wednesday the 26th, I believe. No, it's later than that. Maybe it's the 30th. Anyway, next Wednesday, I'm supposed to have a delivery that is supposed to be all lumber. Now, seeing is believing. But we'll keep you updated. Like I said, this is, if you're the contractor, these are the things you have to deal with. So on that note, I'm going to sign off of this short little segment, and we'll see you on the next round.